wonderful to be with you. Is everybody ready to find a job, right? This is a wonderful, everything you put together here is great, and how you've transformed this. And thank you, ladies, for doing this. They were volunteers, right? They put this together on a volunteer basis. So when they have their full-time jobs and they did this. I think that's a great example of what you're volunteering and what you're doing involved in that. The skill set there is now someone could come and hire them to do something like this, because not everybody can pull together something like this. That is a job skill in and of itself, that by volunteering and being engaged in your community, you've now created another market for you, so they might steal you away wherever you are now. So watch out. So I did want to commend you for putting such a wonderful program together. And as I was going around and talking to who's here, I couldn't help but notice a high amount of IT and technology jobs that are available here, and a lot of training. And one of the things we know going forward for all of us, whether that we're employed right now or we're not employed, say if we're stay at home taking care of the kids, or if we're just young people, trying to figure out what we're going to do, all of us have to be lifelong learners now. That is the new world that we live in. You always have to be learning. So particularly for the kids, this is never going to be over. You always have to learn. So learn that love of learning. But the great thing is you have so many ways to learn. And one of the ways, particularly I think is helpful for job skills, events like this where you're engaging and networking, and even if you're in a job right now, you're seeing all some new possibilities, and gee, maybe I'll take the class at night. There's also a lot of things going on online. If you don't know, if you just say top tips for job hunting, and you put that in Google, you will have dozens and dozens of good tips, and one of them will strike your fancy. And I just wanted to go through one that I found that I thought was very helpful for job tips that I found when that's what I Googled. And it said, first, start with a self-assessment. Look at your skill set. Sit down with a pen and paper and make a list, because you'll probably forget off the top of your head all the things you've done. So really go back through your life and think of all the things you've done. If you've been home taking care of children, you have huge skills. You've been organizing, something at church. You've been organizing, the school fair. When I was home with my kids, I was always the person who helped with the school fair. I got the balloon tank and did the balloons. So now whenever I'm campaigning, I know how to do that balloon job. My first race, I had the most balloons of everybody. Now, obviously, there's a little bit more skills that I'd also gone to law school at night, so that helped too. But the people you met through engaging in those volunteer activities, because I was home for 7 years with my children. I'd gone to law school, but then I wanted to be home. But that entire time, I didn't realize it then, but I was networking because I was always involved and engaged in the community and meeting people and finding relationships that I still to this day are very valuable relationships in any of the many jobs that I've been able to be engaged in. I was speaking with the couple over here who started the Children of the World Learning Center, daycare center for children, and she told a very story about how she started doing her daycare at home. So she started small. This was something she wanted to do. And then as she grew, and she was good at that, she had a vision of she wanted to involve a lot of different children, be teaching languages. So she was able, and with her husband, they were able to start their own daycare center. So she already had all the skill set from doing it at home, had that confidence, had a client base, and then was able to grow. And that's a lot of what can go on today too. You look at the technology business. You may be in a job right now, you're not sure if that's the job you want to do. One of the things that's becoming very in vogue to do is sort of learn and train for your next job, sort of on your off hours while you're in your current job. So you go home at night or whenever, when you're not working, and you take a look at some of the things that interest you, and you start reading about them. There are great TED Talks are a great resource that are online that you can look at and see what kind of people who you think you relate to. Listen to them and their story. I have a young women's leadership program, and one of the things we do is it's junior high and high school girls, and we bring women in every profession from all around the area. We had a law enforcement day. recently, and it was very popular. And so these women told how they got involved in their career and how they did a lot of different things before they figured out that career. Sheila Johnson, who owns the Salamander Resort out in Middleburg, came and spoke to the girls. And you may not have known this, Sheila started as a music teacher. And she was teaching music at a school. She was making $7,000 a year. So this is one of the first African-American billionaire in the United States. And she was teaching music, making $7,000, and then she started tutoring and started her own school in her basement, much like you did. And then she was taking the children around, was discovered, and somebody invited her to, I think Queen Noor invited her to come over and bring her group of students to play for Queen Noor. That was a pretty great deal. So, and from there, she went out and she started BET. She then got into the resort visits, and at every step, a lot of things she hadn't done before. But her parents had told her, what I know all your parents here, because I see these are well-behaved kids here, so I know all the parents are very industrious. They told you, work hard and study, and you can do whatever you want. And that is the world that we live in here in the 10th District and in the Northern Virginia region. We have every possibility here. So to go through a few more of the points here, conduct critical research. So that's sort of online, everything's there for you. Write, edit, and revise your resume. You're doing that here. You have that skill set to be able to do that. Learn that. Have people who are in the areas you're interested in take a look at it and say, you know what, you should emphasize this or that a little bit more. Or you haven't had experience in this. And if you don't have experience in a certain thing, sometimes you can go volunteer and get in front of people and learn from them in a volunteer capacity that then gives you that skill set to get the job. Then you also want to build, cultivate, and utilize your network of contacts. Once, today you are making all kinds of contacts. Make sure you're taking everybody's cards. You never, make a note on those cards of the people you talk to and the things that might interest you. And then maybe if you're able to grab them for a cup of coffee or just meet up with them somewhere and chat a little bit more. Ask them if they can link you to maybe a couple of other people who might be helpful to know. And that's how you keep building and spreading that network. Attempt to complete several job-related goals daily. So again, sit down maybe the night before, say, okay, what is it I'm going to try and get done tomorrow? Make that list so when you get up that morning, you don't say, oh, I'm going to sleep in a little, or maybe I won't do this. Have your list so you get up and say, no, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to talk to this person, then I'm going to see if I can get a few more meetings in. But have that list daily that you're doing. And then don't do it alone. Have other friends who've gone through this, because we've all gone through this. The worst thing, I know when I was home for 7 years, I was networking and I was doing everything, but when I went back to work, looking for a job, everybody said, well, what have you been doing right now? I said, well, I've been taking care of my kids. I went to law school, I've managed the household, got that balloon thing down. I said, well, we want to know what your skill set is here. Fortunately, I found a congressman who my predecessor, and he said, well, I've got a Children, Youth, and Families Committee spot. And I said, well, good, that's what I've done. So even though as a lawyer, I went in, even though that wasn't sort of the exact job I wanted, it got me in the door. And then from there, I was able to get another job. So sometimes your first job may not be what you think you want it to be, but get your foot in the door, get in front of people, and then you can expand your network in that. And I do want to emphasize, there is no job that's not a good job to have. No starter job, there's no dead-end job. My first job was working at a movie theater, shoveling popcorn. And again, those are good skill sets that you need to learn. Those little hot dogs that they used to stick on those things, don't eat those. Those were not there. But you learned how to sort of manage things, work the cash register, and then you graduate to the next job. But those skill sets of showing up, being on time, dressing whatever the appropriate dress is for the job, those skill sets are great things. And as long as you're out there in the workforce, you never know who you'll meet. My daughter majored in biology, and when she got out of college, after we spent tons of money, she didn't have a job yet, kind of felt bad. She came home, she was waitressing, and she was really embarrassed. Oh, I'm so embarrassed I'm waitressing. Don't tell your friends I'm waitressing. I said, I am proud that you're getting up every day and have a job. And in this area, when you're waitressing, you're going to be meeting a lot of people. So talk to people as you're waitressing. Ask them what they do. Visit with them. Find out things. You might find your next job that way. And she did meet people that way. And she was going to graduate school at night, so she was paying her way through. So always, if you get up, get out there and do things, the body in motion really will stay in motion and will expose you to a lot more things. A few more things here they recommend. Prepare for all those job interviews. Sit down with a friend who's walked through it, who you're not, it's always hard. None of us like to sit down and, have someone kind of say, oh, that's not right, don't say it that way. Then you're like, oh, you don't want to do it. That's why sometimes if you're afraid to do that, go online and watch somebody. You can do that. Good interviews. Walk through online, so you don't have to be embarrassed that you're doing the bad interview. You can see, interview mistakes not to make. Then you can watch somebody else make that mistake so you don't make it. So do use, the online assets that we have today are your friend. Pretty much anything you want, you can find there. And so prepare for those interviews, and then make sure you really hit the mark. Each one go in. I can't tell you how many times someone will come in for an interview and they don't know what the job is. Like if you're coming in to work for me, they'll say, well, what committees are you on? And I'm thinking, well, that's online. You probably should have read about that. And you should have done it. So be prepared and know the people that you are meeting with, what they do, what their interests are, so that you can be asking them questions too. Like, how did you get started in this field? I noticed you had these 5 jobs before. Show that you're interested and engaged. Somebody who I had, who was like one of the most engaging interviews, he was reminding me of things in my life that I didn't, when you did this, this is why I want to work for you, and I had forgotten I had done that. So that impressed me that he had done that much reading up. Write thank you notes after the interviews. And again, for whatever the particular industry is, just maybe take a look at online again. You can find a good resource, or your folks here who are doing classes. Write those thank you notes. And oftentimes, the handwritten thank you notes, since they're so unusual today, that actually makes an impression more than just the email. And then keep following up. And understand that job search is going to take longer than you expect it to take. It's hard, it always takes longer. So if that goal of your big job of what you want, if that's going to take longer, get something in the meantime. If you need to be making money, need to be out there, get that job working at the mall, get that job that just gets you out there, whether it's waitressing or doing something that's available, even though it's not your ideal job. And then maybe that's at night, so you can look for the jobs during the day, depending on what your availability is. But again, the more you're out there, the more you're going to succeed. So it is wonderful that you have this great opportunity here, and that Adams has given you this resource. I so appreciate all the resources the Adams Center brings to the table, whether it's your health care, your food drives, all the things you do to the community. I know you opened up this job fair to everybody in the community, and it really shows with all the talent and people coming here who want to get in front of people who are very talented, who are here, that we need to make sure they are involved in all aspects of our community. So thank you for the opportunity to visit with you. And we do have our office here, so if we can help you in any way as you're going through things, if you run into issues or that you might need some constituent help with, my staff is here today.